So let's get to it. Game number 2, PSISTORM and Flick of the Wrist. PSISTORM leading 1-0. The draft is now going to be underway. Let's play a little bit of catch-up, ladies and gentlemen. PSISTORM is actually going first this time, and they banned out Kerrigan themselves, even though they had the first pick. So they're not interested in running her. They're not interested in fighting her. So out she goes. Sylvanas on the flip side from Flick of the Wrist is going to also be out, and here he comes. The fire mage himself with the fury of the Blood Elves at his beck and call. Kael'thas, the Sun King. First pick on PSISTORM for a very small, big team fight-centric map. I love it. Flick of the Wrist, I would fully expect him to see a Jaina here. Sylvanas is already out, and bam, Jaina, I'm so good. We've already caught up, by the way. Here to Jaina as the first pick. They do have a second one here, and if they want to really solidify some good roam, they might want to take a Mirrodin. He's just phenomenally good at going in for those ganks. Instead, they're actually going to take an Anuba Rack. So they still warrior, but they didn't warrior with the stuns that I was kind of expecting them to. Still, I mean, no, not to take credit away from Anuba Rack. On a map like this, bringing a double stun right off the bat is a very powerful roam technique. Very powerful laning with those beetles as well. So we'll have to see what Flick of the Wrist wants to do with it. PSISTORM is basically an open book at this point. Illidan is on the table. Uther is on the table. Heck of a combo. Mirrodin did phenomenal work. They are likely to take a warrior this round, but I want to see like a Vala to go with it here. You can't Sylvanas because she's banned, but a Vala, a Zagara, I think would be absolutely phenomenal here. And if you pick up that Uther, you're either forcing Flick of the Wrist to take Illidan, or they're going to be setting up to take an Illidan or a Thrall themselves. Either way, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of scenario. But PSISTORM, what are you thinking? What did you pick up today from the EU meta? It was the Mirrodin. And once more, it will be a Mirrodin here for PSISTORM. I think... I don't think it's going to be quite the EU aggressive Nihilum Mirrodin that we saw, but it's still, obviously a really good pick for them because they did such good work with it there. But there's the Illidan! Praise be to Night Elves.
My hatred
Hopefully, Flick of the Wrist is prepared for this one. If they take an Uther away here, I think that would be really good. If not, they need to take a Brightwing and perhaps even Emerald Wind it. But the Polymorphs will be really good. You need to start controlling that Illidan. Otherwise, he's just going to go spread a lot of havoc on your team. Timer is ticking down. Flick of the Wrist still thinking about what they want to do here. Vala is up on the table, but I would really solidify a support here. If it's not going to be the Uther for taking away the Divine Shield, it has to be a Brightwing to take away the passive heals that are so good with a Brightwing. Lily has kind of fallen to the wayside once more. And who else is there for a healer out there? Tyrande doesn't really count, but speaking of, it does look like the Uther is actually going to be of the similar mind for Flick of the Wrist, and Tyrande is actually going to follow that Uther. That is not Tyrande, that is Tyrael. I do apologize. Tyrande, there we go. That'll fix itself. There you go. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, Tyrande to go with it. They do really want to make sure that they can focus down the Illidan. Now they have Hunter's Mark, and they took away the Divine Shield. PSISTORM either to take a Lily or a Brightwing, I want to say. We don't see a lot of Malfurion in NA. But if there's anything that Kotang would have learned today by watching a lot of the EU meta, it's that Malfurion is pretty kick-ass. Especially against low-burst teams. Now, so far, Flick of the Wrist, it's a pretty low-burst team. I mean, other than just going in and stun-locking, all you got really is a Jaina. Jaina and the Hunter's Mark to come out from Tyrande. It's not the biggest of bursts. Now, on the flip side, PSISTORM, they got a Kael and an Illidan. That is a very scary kind of combo. Not only are you going to see Phoenixes, but you're going to see Metamorphosis. Going into the thick of things will be the Mirrodin. So, Malfurion, Lily, Brightwing, I think any of them would do great here. Absolutely any of them. It just really comes down to what PSISTORM wants to join with it. And I would have said that, I would like to see a Vala into the backline, but it's not even going to be any of that. They will go once more, double tank. Apparently, I just psychic with the Tyrael. I needed to click him, for the wrong team. And they're actually going to say, nope, nuts to all that. We're going to take a Rhaegar. So Ancestral Healing is going to be hopefully a really good or really bad crutch here. Either PSISTORM is going to get off some really good Ancestrals on any of the 3 melee that need to go in between the Mirrodin, the Tyrael, and the Illidan. or it's going to be so badly mistimed that PSISTORM's going to fall apart. Now, we did actually have a member in chat actually predict the Flick of the Wrist win. Of course, he didn't get it right, but, you know, depending on what this last pick here, Flick of the Wrist could easily go for the Valor. She's still on the board. Then Flick of the Wrist might, if they can control down that Rhaegar, and especially they have a good skill set to do it, because they not only have Lunar Flares, but lots of stuns and a Web Blast, which is the big one for Flick of the Wrist. If they take out their Rhaegar, they might be able to melt down one of those 3 engages from PSISTORM, to which PSISTORM will have a little bit of a problem then that they'll have to face. If they don't control the Rhaegar, they don't control the Illidan, Flick of the Wrist is going to get absolutely destroyed, because there's nothing better than those last-minute Rhaegar heals that just win fights. There's nothing better. So, Flick of the Wrist, they're taken down. They got 30 seconds to figure out who they want for their last pick. It is an Illidan. It is 3 melee. Either you need to go for a Stitches and the Putrid Bile, or a Vala with multi-shot, or a Tychus. I think a Tychus with a laser would be absolutely golden on this map. The problem is with the Tychus, however, is that such as a small map, he's likely to be ganked quite a bit, and his run and gun isn't the best of escape methods. Now, if Flick of the Wrist wants to do something else, like a Zeratul, like a Thrall, to try to, you know, fight melee with melee, auto attack Zeratuls have come in, but they got 2 seconds, they got 1 second, and it's gonna be hopefully not Diablo. Did they actually take Diablo? Because that had nothing to do with any of my reasoning at all. Did they pick Diablo, or did they random a Diablo? Flick of the Wrist. What did you do? Is it a Diablo? No, it's a Brightwing. At least no, it's a Vala. I don't know what it is. 1, 2, 3. Nobody's picking the right heroes, and nobody's talking to me. So I don't actually know if that's a Diablo, but whatever. Diablo. He's going into that slot. Lightning Breath, I want to say. If it's Apocalypse, I'd be very surprised. It's not even Cursed Hollow. It's Tomb of the Spider Queen. Oh my goodness. Confirm button is glitched. So what is it? So... Alright, Tomb of the Spider Queen, not Cursed Hollow. Apparently I didn't hit the right button. Do apologize for that. It is actually a Zeratul. Nice. Alright, it's not a Diablo, it's a Zeratul. Bam. Changing that up. Zeratul, the Dark Prelate himself. So there it is. They got the Divine Storm, or sorry, the Divine Shield for a Zeratul. Will it be going on a Zeratul? I'm not entirely too sure, but a VP could absolutely be the control that Flick of the Wrist needs. If they are going to go Locust Swarm with the Nubarak, they can use the VP to try to single out the Rhaegar and destroy someone, or vice versa, single out somebody else and destroy somebody else. There's a lot of control there. If they do go Web Blast, it's even more control. And then, of course, they got the stuns of Uther, the double heals with the Tyrande, and the back-end DPS with the Jaina. Oh, apparently we got to wait for an admin to confirm the change on roster. So we're likely to be sitting here for a little bit. Now, PSISTORM, as I said, they have a very engage-heavy team for a very engage-heavy map. I like it. I think that's going to do them very well. They saw, you know, their strength in engage comps on the first map of Cursed Hollow, and now going into this one, especially on Tomb of the Spider Queen, which is so much more engaging. I think that they really are going to have some solid team fights here. What will they do for laning? They don't really have much of a roaming, I want to say. Who would even roam on this? Kael'thas and Mirrodin, I guess? I mean, Illidan by himself in a lane should too fine. Same with the Tyrael. Rhaegar can easily solo out. The Mirrodin, any of their heroes can really solo a lane. There's nothing really huge or detrimental about any of that, but will they actually roam? And if so, what will they roam? So, not entirely too sure if or they have the intent. Flick of the Wrist, definitely a little bit more of a better roaming setup. They can put a Nubarak in a lane. The Zeratul can roam, Tyrande, the Uther. I probably wouldn't see the Jaina, because if she gets caught in the jungle, she has no escapes. Whereas Uther kind of just likes to walk away from a lot of things. Nubarak has his Burrow Charge, Zeratul, of course, with Blink. So I want to say Flick of the Wrist has a little bit of a better early game, but the team fight potential for PSISTORM is very massive. It could just absolutely do them very well. So we need an admin for some reason or another. I'm not entirely too sure. What happens when I go like this? Yeah, it's probably not the best of things. All right, we won't do that. Ugh. What do we even need an admin for? All right. I just asked them, do we actually even need a draft contest? And apparently they've dropped the contest. So we're going to get into the game. Yay for talking it out like mature adults. But this just means that the game will start very much quicker for you guys. And we're going to be jumping into Tomb of the Spider Queen as game number 2 here at the ESL Opens North America. It's actually not North America, it's the Americas. I do apologize. I'm actually going to be getting replays from one of the Brazilian teams, would you believe, that are in the Open, but they don't play until Tuesday. So you're going to be looking for replays here on the channel throughout the week for the ESL Open. And we are done talking. We are going to go right into it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, PSISTORM and Flick of the Wrist, game number 2. Of course, I should probably hit the game capture button. Bam, there it is. I did not lie. I tell no lies. I am not a crook. Maybe I'm a little bit of a crook. All right. I also got replays now filtering in for Wild Growth and Luxury, which will be following this best of 3. And then, of course, we will have Monsoon up against Eclipse as our final best of 3 of the night. So still lots of heroes for you guys as we're jumping in now to game number 2. There it is. Brilliant. Awesome. Amazing. Into the top, Chrysalo, Alucia, Vital, Kotank, and the Karate Kid are going to be making up PSISTORM, who are currently leading 1-0 in this best of 3. On the flip side, though, Shales, Tall, Schooled, E-Dubs, and Radlack with a 5-man death ball right from the get-go here at level 1. And they're actually I want to say that they're going to go really for this push. They might actually go for this push here as well, but 5-man deathballing early on in Tomb of the Spider Queen is a very popular, at least in solo queue. And now you can see as well the 5-ball kind of starting up into the top there as well from PSISTORM, but they're not going to find anybody bottom. And ooh, Talls. Oh, he's not going to go into it. He will actually just throw out the stuns, but that's actually going to be the collapse now. Looking for either Talls or E-Dubs. E-Dubs has no escapes, but he does have 2 sets of heals for him, and it will not be a kill. The teams will just bounce off each other. And what kind of lanes will we see? Illidan has already gone down into the bottom, and it looks like E-Dubs will be there to face him. 3-man mid once more from Flick of the Wrist. They did this on Cursed Hollow as well. They started off with 3 mid, and it's a safe strategy. You throw 3 mid, and then you can kind of roam wherever you need to. You can go top, you can go bottom. It's really like the choice is yours. So, yeah. Does look like a little bit of uncertainty about where people want to go. Shales is now just going to be following Vital. Throws out a bomb. It's going to blink here on top of Chrysalo, but the stun will actually hit the Rhaegar instead into the back, but Talls was there to actually clean up, and Kael'thas way too far forward. No escapes. Is a big, hefty, clunky kind of guy. Will be the first blood, and that will go to Flick of the Wrist. So showing some good signs of life here early, as nobody cares about bottom lane. So what do we got for talents? Level 1, Purge Evil. More damage against heroes. Lovely. Mana Addict. We got Reverberation coming out here as well. And again, more opportunities for kills, and they're going to pick up the Rhaegar. But Tall's low hit points. He's going to get hit from behind by not only Kotank, but Alucio, as they had roamed up from mid. Once more, nobody into nobody into the mid lane, and nobody cares about the last one, as it's all about the party top right now. Shales back into it. Hit the sippy cup. He's just going to soak before he roams out again. 2 kills to 1 early on. We got Beetles already started out here for Anubarak. We got Regen Master on the Zeratul. That is an interesting choice. We'll have to see what level 4 goes before we get more of an idea about what he wants to roam with. The Tyrande actually has Seasoned Marksman, so she's going to go a little bit more damagey, whereas it looks like Shales is going to go a little bit more tanky. But nice roam here. Kotank and crew going to be setting up shop, looking for that dunk, and they do put down 15 spider butts into I want to call it the butt, but it's just the cocoon. Spider butts into the butt. Doesn't quite work. Either way. Level 4 apiece, and it's going to be gathering power. So Zeratul not going to go auto attack. We still likely to see a Divine Shield from the Uther. But it doesn't seem to be going to be a big auto attack build here from Shales. He's just going to dart in, get the damage, dart out, look to push them down. We do have the healing advantage, of course, to Flick of the Wrist with their double heal potential. So if they can just keep wearing down the mana pool there of Vital, it'll be, well, better and better, especially since he doesn't have Feral Heart. He does have the Farsight. Now Vital, I mean, Feral Heart's probably not going to do him any good here anyways. He gets bursted down, but Shales now is going to be the return. Big deeps, big damage. There goes the Zeratul. Regen Master will not do you much against the burst potential of a Kael'thas. And Karate Kid, he was left to his own devices bottom. He's now going to disappear into the jungle as he is likely known to do at level 4 because we do got Immolation for the Illidan. And 33 Spider Butts now into the cocoon for Flick of the Wrist. Experience is pretty much even at this point. Karate Kid will get scouted out, though, by E-Dubs. Will E-Dubs be able to actually contest this? I think so, because Talls and Shales are actually going to be there first. So Karate Kid, the intentions were good, but unfortunately it's not going to be near enough, and he actually is going to get chased down. Shales with this cleave is enough to solidify the kill. The Mercs were stolen out here as well, and Shales on that front line, no fears, is still going to try to face off against the 3-man remaining squad of PSISTORM. Nobody into the top lane, nobody soaking. We got Schooled and Chrysalo. They did retreat here to the mid, but a little bit more experience now going to be going the way of Flick of the Wrist. They are about to hit 7, about a half level above their opponents, and that's a small window where they can try to look for another kill. So the window is closing, and they might go for Chrysalo. They might go for Karate Kid. In fact, it just looks like we're going to be interested in dunking down some more of those gems. And Karate Kid actually will find Schooled, but man, he's losing a lot of those hit points. Shales did actually find out that Kael stuns and Talls. It's going to be enough, this Beetle army, to join him with those body blocks. Kael has absolutely no chance. And E-Dub's Co-Tank just resume life anew in the bottom lane. Level 7s are out. What do we got?
What's the plan?
First aid, battle momentum, fission bomb, so big kabooms. Not really unexpected at this point for a Kael'thas. Red web weavers will descend. They did dunk down their gems. Piercing bolt after the Thunderburn. I'm curious what the 13 will be here from Mirrodin. And Earth Shield as expected there as well. On the flip, though, the Frostbitten, it is the triple beetles, as we have come to love and expect here on NA. Void Slash. Cleave deals 30% more damage if used while cloaked. You don't see that a lot on Zeratools, but it just goes more with the gathering power, as well as the surprise, I'm kind of here, darting in, doing damage, darting out maneuvers, since Blink doesn't get you out of stealth. Karate Kid's working on this bottom one as E-Dubs cleans up a tower, and the rest of the team is actually pushing down top. Cleanse and Lunar Blaze will finish off the talents at level 7 as we're about to look for those heroics fairly soon. Chrysalo does take a little bit of damage there from Shales, but overall the Weavers did do some really good pushing. Not only did they get the top, they didn't touch mid, but they got bottom there as well. So really nice turn-in. A lot of experience is now almost a level between the teams. Flick of the Wrist is definitely doing a little bit better here this early game, especially compared to the Cursed Hollow. But Talls actually sees an opportunity. They're going to look for it here on top of Vital, but I mean, past that gate, there's really not too much else they can do about it. But even during that entire fight, the AoE was nearly enough to take out a tower. That's a very powerful set of tools here for Flick of the Wrist, but they're actually going to now retreat. We got blue web weavers now descending, and they're going to go and pick up these bruisers. The bruisers are a really good counter to web weavers because they just defaultly push that lane. So with those weavers countered into the mid, we're likely to see the 4-man collapse either top or bottom. And actually, PSISTORM's going to beat them to it. Oh, the Divine Shield! So clutch there from E-Dubs, but the shield has a pretty hefty cooldown. 70 seconds that they're not going to be able to use it. To go with it is the Locust Swarm, the VP, Starfall, and the Summon Water Elemental. So if we can VP out Vital or Chrysalo or somebody important in these fights, Flick of the Wrist might be able to just chunk down someone very quickly with their potential burst. which again goes back to Gathering Power, which goes back to Void Slash. We see now Lunar Blaze, the attacks of Seasoned Marksman. It's all, I think, coming together to try to snipe out someone here from PSISTORM with the duration of a Void Prison. If things get hairy, they have a Divine Shield, which will happen in the next 30 seconds or so. But still, these Bruisers, they outlasted the mid. They're now counter-pushing here for Flick of the Wrist. They're now going and pushing up against this gate. They're likely to get cleaned up, but PSISTORM has to put a lot of manpower into it, and that is allowing us a lot of potential for dunking down these Spider Gems, and will that actually be a quick turn-in? Very close. We actually are off by 1. We need 1 more Spider Gem, and then we need to turn them all in. We don't have nearly enough yet for PSISTORM, only 41, and that's if they actually don't die here. Look at the control. There's the VP, but the Void is just too late. It is going to be the healing on top of that Illidan. He goes right back in. Karate Kid low, Kotank low. Everybody on PSISTORM is actually really, really dangerously low. The Phoenix is there. It's doing the damage. Here comes Shale into the back. He can't get that last auto attack on top of Crestflow, and he goes over the edge, and he still doesn't get the kill. Either way, it's still a good exchange. Flick of the Wrist with that VP kept 2 of them out almost before they were able to just take the Illidan immediately out of the fight, and they still get a good favorable 3-for-1 exchange, putting them now a full level ahead of their opponents. And this map pick so far, the strategy we've seen from Flick of the Wrist has been really solid. They're up 8 kills to 3. They've countered Web Weavers. They've dunked down their own. They've been able to steal out Mercs, and they've got a heck of a lot of kills so far to their name. Just under 1 a minute. Pretty good for a map like this, especially with the stakes so high, because, of course, if Flick of the Wrist loses, they do go out 2-0. Now, it's not over yet. PSISTORM still can bring this back. Level 16 is where you start seeing Kale hit his stride. If they can play to the late, PSISTORM might still be able to bring this one back. We don't have all our ults ready, but we do have Divine Shield. Will that be enough for an engage? Here comes the Water Elemental. It's ready to go now as well. Judgment, Phoenix, and the Ancestral are all off cooldown, and it doesn't look like we're willing to engage without full heroic support from Flick of the Wrist. Shales is now countering into the top, or at least posturing into the top. Has to blink out of this one. Could have gotten caught there by the Kale, but there's the Elemental, and everybody brings him down. The Ancestral is not enough. Vital now has to wait 9-10 seconds, and a Void Prison to boot. Karate Kid's getting out of dodge with that Metamorphosis, but that's it for Vital, and probably the Dwarf too. Where there he goes. 3-for-0, even better that time for Flick of the Wrist, as they take off flawless kill set, and that will put them now into keep positioning if they can put down this gate. Here's the wormhole. You get in, you get the damage, you get out. Maximum burst potential from this Zeratul, who hasn't died, has kept his gathering stacks, and is now 13. Almost 2 levels. There we go, 2 levels between these teams in 10 minutes. Flick of the Wrist is a 100% different team than we saw in game number 1. Now Kotank, he takes an Owl, he takes a Lunar Flare to the face. We're likely to see Shooting Star at 16 for Tyrande to go more with the theme of the burst to come out of this one. Karate Kid pushing out bottom, realizes that they're probably coming for him, has to back off. Chryslo pushing out the top. In terms of the gems, it's not a very good number right here for PSISTORM. They got 14 after putting in 14, which is still way too few for a turn-in. We have a lot more now to the name here of Flick of the Wrist, but that was the Water Elemental. They've actually put out the Water Elemental on top of Karate Kid. What a small little cooldown, but unfortunately, there's nothing really to follow with that. Starfall still down, Void Prison down, Locust Swarm still down. So, yeah, I'm not entirely too sure. Keeping that, throwing that out. I mean, it could have just been a little bit more of a reflex. They saw a perfect opportunity, but there was no communication. This will put us in a bit of a weaker team fight position going forward, but PSISTORM does have 13 now. They do have the even talent here, even if they are still down a little under 2 levels. And once more, Spell Shield, and look at the Rhaegar as well. Rhaegar Spell Shield as well. You don't see that every day, ladies and gentlemen. But the potential here for not only the Jaina, but the Zeratul, I mean, they're really trying to curb down and mitigate the big burst that Flick of the Wrist is really bringing to the table here. Spell Shields are going to be good, but will they be enough Level 13s here for Flick of the Wrist, Burning Rage, the Shrink Ray, Overflowing Light. So, I mean, pretty standard stuff coming out. The Overflowing Light is a really nice talent. If you're above half health, you do 35% more heals. That's a very clutch amount of heals. And it comes up every time you're going to heal somebody anyway. So it's a really nice talent. 15, 13. If we're going to fight, this is probably when you want to do it, PSISTORM. You need to fight before the next 16 will come out once more. Starfall and Elemental. Is this actually going to be enough to take down Kotank? It is! One more shot, and it's going to be the death of Tyrael. We're going to jump out. VP on top of Chrysalo. Very likely a dead Fire Mage, and there he doesn't go. Okay, it was just a little bit delayed. The Ancestral, really good there from Vital, but I think we needed it there on the Tyrael, not the Chrysalo. But still, 2 kills, nil. We once more have a very powerful showing here from Flick of the Wrist. Stun out there on top of the Dwarf, but there's not enough follow-up. And now with Bruisers pushing down, we collapse back and take the fort. Shale's over the wall trying to do work. Doesn't quite get the kill, but he's still doing the damage. And 16 now attained for Flick of the Wrist, as they should have, I want to say enough. Maybe if they catch up with the rest of the gems down here for a turn-in, but they're also going to deny their opponents their bruisers, and there's not too much PSISTORM can do about this. Yeah, we saw the sword go over from Kotank, but he was just not ready for that. And he would have died. Like, truth be told, he would have just got CC'd, done, and we don't have that Ancestral. The Judgment wouldn't have been able to get him out of any kind of flak there. So we do have 8. We need 8 more gems. Come on, E-dubs, you can do it. 4. Nope, they're not going to quite get the turn in yet, but they put in 50 more coins. 50 more gems, which is going to put them in a good position. They got the map positioning that they really want. Now, we are going to try to put in some gems here from PSISTORM, but they're 14-16. Any kind of aggression, and they're going to have to fall back. And you can see Tall is really going aggressive. He's just saying, yeah, I can do this, and did he dodge that out? He's not losing the hit points, so I think he actually did successfully dodge that one out. There's 8, there's 10, 11. All right, we have enough to put in, and I think that's going to be the big objective right here. Make sure you can turn in enough of the gems for another go. Now, could they go for the boss? They actually did just ping out the Giants bottom, and they are much closer. The throw pit is aptly named, remember. So, yeah, going for the Giants, a little bit more of a safer play, but PSISTORM is still very much on the back foot here. Any fight going into this anytime soon, they're down a talent tier. And look at those 16s. Blood for blood. Rending Cleave as well for this Zeratul. I'm loving the Zeratul synergies here. Shooting Star as expected, Benediction, and Numbing Blast. Now, this is not the Northern Wind. This is not vulnerability. We don't need the vulnerability. We already have Hunter's Mark, so that's already covered. This is chill. So if we see Blink at 20 from Jaina, she blinks forward, Numbing Blasts everyone. They can't move. It's a match made in heaven for some of these stun setups. It just absolutely flows very nicely into the comp. And it's so far, I mean, the comp is being played out super, super wonderfully well by Flick of the Wrist. So you see Shales, he jumped in, he got some damage off, jumps out. Out goes the Phoenix. It's not going to be enough to save this bottom keep, and the first keep blood will go to Flick of the Wrist. Once more, Shales going in, stuns coming out, Water Elemental as well, and Vital is going to get removed out of this team fight. Karate Kid into the back, he's looking for a meta, and he will get a pretty good meta, but he's just going to get stunned down, and there's nothing Kotank can do. Didn't even get to use the Judgment. The Ancestral didn't hit, and that is likely to be game right here, ladies and gentlemen, on the back of these Stone Bros. That is going to be game number 2, and we're going to a game number 3 hype here as Chrysalo once more is going to be back into the Nether. Tomb of the Spider Queen was merely a setback, and really good stuff. I gotta say, you know, they really brought that back. They deserve a wow for that. I think that Flick of the Wrist really brought their strength to this match, and they really deserve that win. On a team map like this, they came together extremely well, and I got to give it to them. Flick of the Wrist hype, ladies and gentlemen. They tie up the series, and we're going to Game 3 next here for the ESL Americas Open League Round of 16 qualifiers. I've been FourCourtJester, and a lot left to do tonight. I do have game 1 of the next series ready to go. Game 2 has not hit my inbox yet, so either way, we got a game 3 here. We might actually have to wait for the replays afterwards. I'm not entirely sure yet, but we'll see what kind of lengths they are. And when we come back, game 3 of this series, PSISTORM or Flick of the Wrist. I saw some supporters in chat. This is where you put down your bets, ladies and gentlemen. And when we return, we will have game number 3 of this tied up series. There it is. We'll see you in a few.